This Dark Goddess tutorial is based on Rose Matter, which is a book by Stephen King and focuses on the almost goddess character named Rose Matter in the book. Rose Matter is also my round 3 entry to the Striking Fear contest on Instagram. To start, we want to make our skin look less lifelike, but not completely absent of life. And to do this, I'm going to use Dead Flesh or Dead Man Gray by Woodgie. Now typically I use this for zombies, but it works really great in this application because it still allows a hint of life while really deadening things out. Now to give you a better description of what Stephen King wrote Rose Matter to look like, I will read a small excerpt from the book. Rosie didn't know what those gray shadows lurking just below the hairline could be, and didn't think she wanted to know. Bites were her first wild thought, but they weren't bites. Rosie knew bites. Was it leprosy? Something worse? Something contagious? Since your arms will be exposed in your goddess toga, you'll want to make sure to cover all of your exposed skin in some type of paint. And since Woodgie, the little cup, doesn't actually have a lot of makeup in it, I would apply that just to your face, neck, and starting onto your shoulders, and then just use a white cream-based makeup or a water-activated paint, which I actually prefer since it dries better on your skin, and blend that in. So I'm just taking the white water-activated paint by Mayron and adding that to my skin and then rubbing that in to remove any of the harsh brush strokes. And in this case, since the skin is pretty mottled, it's actually okay to have a pretty uneven application. To bring the white onto your face, add it to the areas you would normally highlight, which is your cheekbones, your forehead, and maybe a little bit down onto the nose and front of the chin. Now take a stippling sponge and bring a very pale green onto the skin. And this is where we're going to start building up those shadows. Particularly, I added this to the forehead, underneath the neck, and onto little areas of the chest. To deepen these shadows, then take a gray makeup, and I'm again using Mayron's watercolor paints and using their solid gray. And very similarly to how I did the white, just brushing it on there and then smoothing it out. I added some in various areas to the arms, but then also deepened areas such as the inside of the arms, the armpits, and into the neck and shoulders. And this is going to give it more of a hollowed out and almost sickly look. Bring a little bit of that gray onto the face as well, dry brushing some of it onto the areas of your face you would contour, and a little bit onto the cheekbones, and a bit on the nose, just making sure that gray is present on your face. Then to give her a really sharp and angled face, use the gray to really contour out the bottom of the jawline as well as back behind the ears. I also use the gray to add shadowing around the edges of the face. So doing a little bit of spotting there right below the wig next to the hairline, and then blending that in, which is going to add a little bit more of a contour to your forehead. And a bit of a base there on the eyes as well. Stephen King later goes on to describe Rose Matter as an almost goddess. And this means we'll have to do a beauty makeup on top of our now modeled skin. And to start that, I am emphasizing the cut of the eye using Make the Gradient, which is a dark brown shadow from Tarte. Then I'm going over with Reflection, which is another Tarte shadow. It's I would say kind of a tan color that has a lot of gold glittery accent to it. And I'm using that to highlight the upper part of my eye, up to the brow. Now I'm taking the Gilded Gallery, which is a really, really bright gold shadow with a lot of shimmer from Tarte, and packing that onto the inside of my eyes, as well as the outside of my eyes, and then going upwards towards the eyebrow and adding a little bit underneath the eye as well. Then I'm taking Landscape, which is a very shimmery forest green, and adding that to just the center of the lid and just the center of the eye below the lashes. Time for some contour. But to do this, we're going to use a bit of the Make the Gradient mixed with the Landscape powders. So a green and a dark brown. And this is going to give us more of those mottled colors for the contour versus a more warmer, lifelike color. And finally, for the lips. Now, she's a goddess, and I'm going with more of a gold theory than the actual red rose madder color. And for this, I'm using Mehron's Water Aqua Paint in gold from the Brilliant palette. I like using these aqua paints for lips because it doesn't smudge once it dries. However, if you're going to be drinking something later, make sure to use a straw. Now to add the additional modeling that Rosie describes just under the hairline. Is it bites? Is it leprosy? And to do this, I'm going to use the Ben Nye Bruise Wheel. And from this, I'm using first the dark green color that is in the palette, or in the wheel, and just dabbing that along the hairline underneath the bangs, and then alongside my jaw, and inside the collarbones, as well as just different random spots down my arm and onto my wrists and hands. Once you have all of the green that you want, I then used the dark purple from the Bruise Wheel and am adding a little bit more of a stipple on top of all of those previously modeled regions just to deepen the color. And that's that. Add in some black contacts, which I have here, and if you haven't already done so, a blonde wig. This one is from Rockstar Wigs, and you are ready to be a dark goddess for Halloween. If you haven't already, you should definitely read Rose Madder by Stephen King. I love this book because not only is it one of his forays into Greek mythology, but it also covers a very serious topic that is very personal and dear to me of domestic abuse. And being that October is Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, I think it's a great story that really digs into the psychology of it, as well as focuses on women empowerment. As I'd mentioned previously, this is my round 3 entry to the Striking Fear contest on Instagram, and you can find that by searching for the hashtag #StrikingFear or following me on Instagram at MadLikeAlice. If you like this tutorial, please be sure to subscribe and check out other tutorials on madlikealice.com or on my social media channels here.